But just to use an example, a 15 amp electrical device mounted in the exterior wall of a fire station to the elements is not UL listed, never been safety tested. How can that be? How can we think that's okay and not have done the due diligence?
Bruce, before you leave the podium, I just wanted to ask a question. We've had a public participation here this morning that's talked about this baby box device that's installed in a fire department in Union Township. Are you aware of that device being installed?
I am.
Has it been asked to be inspected appropriately per the National Electric Code?
It has.
And what is the current status of it?
It's approved and completed.
Okay. And so the device was not required to be UL listed since it was modified after its original state and then inspected in accordance with the National Electric Code, just the same as any box that you pick up at Home Depot is?
It itself is not a UL listed piece of equipment.
Okay.
It's more of a furnishing. The components within this device, this furnishing, has listed components.
Okay. So the actual, whatever the device is, whether that's a security device or a light device or whatever that is.
There is some electricity to it. It's basically a box, little baby bed, and has heat and the alarm. So there is some electricity to this.
Okay. And just for clarification, I mean, there are a lot of people that aren't familiar with the National Electric Code. I know that you are. And people don't understand that even when you buy a new electrical panel, at Home Depot, that is UL listed. And then you bring it home and install it in a house and knock the knockouts out of the back of it. And then you put devices through it, that voids its UL listing because it's actually tested in its complete state. And then it's required to be building inspected to ensure its integrity for use. And that's what the county inspection provides.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last Wednesday, I came here and I talked some about baby boxes and safe haven awareness across our county and the opportunity to be part of something I would think is going to be special and is going to hopefully happen at the state level. But it's the notion of getting safe haven awareness signs on every fire station, police station, and hospital in Clermont County, and then across our state. It's funny to think, and I said then, that safe haven is started in 2001 in Ohio, but we did absolutely nothing to raise any awareness. We did nothing at fire stations. Most all fire stations have anything at the fire station that indicates what procedure, what you should do if you showed up with a baby at a fire station. I've come to find out just since Wednesday that in my township, Union Township, where I believe there's 6 fire stations, one with a baby box, the 5 other fire stations had no documented procedures for what to do in the event of somebody coming up with a baby. And we might want to think about it. I think I'm going to try to figure that out across our whole county. How many firehouses actually have documented procedures and have printouts of the state required materials that you're supposed to give to somebody if they're safe havening a baby. But I came here back today because I love these meetings. No, because Mr. Painter, after I had talked, and from the building department, Bruce Crace was here, got into a discussion with him unrelated to the topic that Mr. Crace was here for, about baby box inspections and electrical inspections. And I just want to correct some things, and I appreciate if you are going to interact to do it while the speaker's here versus wait till after they're done talking and then go places with things, Mr. Painter in particular. But I think you're wrong. Okay, I think the electrical code, and I talked with Mr. Crace in the hallway after you had put him on the spot, I thought wrongly so, to ask him questions about something he was not present here to talk about. And so this is a picture, it's not from here, but it's a picture of a baby box delivered at a different fire station. You'll see it's a self-contained appliance. You see the plug coming out of it, which Mr. Painter got that part right. But in Union Township, one of these was put in well before there was any inspection. The inspector, because of an electrical appliance being installed permanently in the wall of a building, should have been looking for a UL listing on that device. And if there was no UL listing on the device, should have asked for some sort of safety indication or safety test data, especially there's different rules for homes versus commercial and governmental buildings. And also especially when this is something being put out to the public. okay, that you walk up to it, touch it, grab it, and it's an electrical appliance that's plugged into a 15 amp circuit. So I just wanted to correct that and make sure that people know that the common approach in building would be that if there is a device mounted in the wall of a building, or technically, most people would think it'd be crazy that you would mount an electrical device in the side of a building that's not been UL listed or safety tested. But especially because it's a self-contained appliance that's plugged in, that whole device should be UL listed as a total device before it's put, but basically, even if we're just used in a building, which wouldn't require any permit, but especially so if it's being mounted in the side of a building for the public to use, exposed to rain, weather, and otherwise. So I just wanted to correct that. But I also wanted to say that I think it's more important to not focus on those kind of things. And that's not what I focused on, although I did mention it not being UL listed. I think what we need to focus on is how can we use what's happened with the baby box. And now I think pretty much everyone at a fire station is under investigation in Ohio for different code violations associated with the boxes. Is that how we use it as an opportunity to raise awareness of the important issues around safe haven. And just the thing that probably none of us ever thought about is that safe haven has been around, which is the ability to drop off a baby with no questions asked, for over 20 years in Ohio, and we've really done nothing. We've done nothing, and every fire station should have some visual indicator on it of if you're safe havening a baby here, what you should do, ring the bell, call 911 if nobody answers the bell. And that's something that I think in a state for almost, for $50 a fire station, we can have as much, I believe, as much or more impact than $15,000 boxes that are benefiting a private company. So thank you guys. And if there's any questions about anything I've said, it'd be good. I'm glad to answer them now versus come back the next time to answer things that are brought up when I've left the podium.
Okay, absolutely. Well, would you clarify that when you came here the last time that you did mention there was a problem with the UL listing on that box?
As I just said right now, I mentioned that the box is not UL listed.
But you said that my questioning the authority having jurisdiction was out of character or wasn't covered by this meeting, even though you identified that there was a possible violation of
No, I
UL
think
listing
you
here in
then
Clermont County?
misquoted the code.
No, I
You
didn't.
said
misquote
you didn't.
that.
You put words in the mouth of Mr. Crace
No.
that the electrical code said that it didn't need to be UL listed. I believe that's false.
And I believe
And
it is not false.
Okay.
So we will just beg to differ there.
So then let me ask you this, Mr. Painter.
Sure.
Do you think that it is intellectually, morally, or ethically proper to have an electrical appliance mounted in a wall that is serviced by a 15 amp circuit not be safety tested and not be UL listed? Is that the position you're taking?
Is your position that this box right here is UL listed?
No, my position is this box is not UL listed. It is not safety tested. And the actual contract for it, I can't believe any government entity would enter into, says in the contract that it's not been safety tested.
Is your position that a UL listed device, even if this were UL listed, and then it's modified from its existing condition and placed into a building wall, would not be subject to inspection by the authority having jurisdiction, which is the building code inspector in this county?
I just know, talking to people that I know that are building inspectors, they tell me that if they were to see in a commercial location, a device mounted as a permanent fixture in the building that had no indication of any UL listing or safety testing, under the code, they would be obligated to ask for evidence of its safety testing. You get into this thing and you did last time about something that's been modified. The point with this is, first off, I don't think this has been modified, but the point is, Mr. Painter, it was never UL listed or safety tested in the first place.
Right.
Obviously, if I buy something in my house that was, my house, we have an outdoor heater that's electrical. Okay. If I bought it and then I modified it and it was UL listed when I bought it and then it burns the house down and I modified it, I probably couldn't go back against the original manufacturer saying, well, it was UL listed when I had modified it. We're not talking about modifications here. This is a self-contained device that's delivered as a unit. You can see it right there, packaged up, that is not UL listed, and the contract of which says not only that it's not UL listed, that it's not been safety tested by any recognized lab. That's what it says in the contract. And I'm just saying, we can sit here and we can argue about UL listing and I think the common sense aspect, I think I'm right, but I think also it defies common sense to be arguing with me about this whole matter. And the second thing it defies common sense of, it totally loses focus on the point that I came and spent most of my time talking about, is the importance in our county of raising awareness as to safe haven and what the options are so that people can know and they know what to do. And every fire station knows what to do. I know in Union Township, the stations I've seen, they have doorbell buttons on them. And Bonnie, I'm looking at you because I know you have a fire background. They have doorbell buttons. I'm surprised when I've looked at other places in the state, how many fire stations have no doorbells on them. So if I were bringing a baby up there, or even if I was trying to get a fireman, what do I do? How do I do it? And real quick, I know I appreciate you interacting with me here. So even though we're disagreeing, I appreciate it. I was actually at the Troy baby box when there was a T-bone accident in front of the station, honest to God. And then I ran in because the bay doors were open and I was screaming for a fireman. Some lady across the street thought I was a fireman and started screaming at me. Then she comes over and screaming. It took the better part of 5 minutes just to get a fireman in the fire station because there was no bell. They were somewhere back at, there was no bell to push. There was no way to alert them. There was no phone that says, if you need assistance, like the old time police boxes you'd see on the street. And it's just something to think about in Clermont County and across our whole state. As it relates to safe haven, but anything. If I approached a firehouse, do I even have a bell to press to get into the firehouse? And I've seen two of them, the one in Delhi and the one in Troy. The stations don't really have any way to alert a fireman inside from the outside that I need a fireman out there. So I don't want to go on and we can debate, but I think that this is the important thing, is raising the awareness. I think we can debate who's right and wrong on the electrical code, but I think the notion of arguing about whether a 15 amp electrical appliance that comes packaged as a unit should have been UL listed at any point I'll have that debate with you all day long, because I think it's just a matter of common sense.
And look, our argument here is we're not nearly as far at odds as you think we are. It's not a debate about whether it gets listed or not. You had identified in front of this board that there was a UL listing problem on an installation.
Identified that it was not.
Hold on. I let you talk. My inquiry with Mr. Crace wasn't to debate what you had said. It was to fully identify if there was actually a violation of the National Electric Code here, since I have worked in that code for 40 years.
Okay.
And so what he told me was that he had inspected the installation in accordance with the building code here in Ohio, and he had issued a green tag for that installation that meant that it met all the requirements of the National Electric Code. Now, we can debate that any way we want to, but the authority having jurisdiction has jurisdiction, as you can read in the code, to inspect any type of electrical installation and determine if it's acceptable for use. And my only intention was to show that there was no violation of the National Electric Code because it had been inspected by the authority having jurisdiction.
So the electrical,
that was it.
Just real quick, the electrical, there was no electrical permit on the unit.
I'm
Okay.
aware.
I talked to Mr. Crace in the hallway. If you would like me to prove what was said in the hallway about inspections and what happened electrically, I'm glad to do that and share it with you, because I think you are misrepresenting and you put him unfairly on the spot on a different topic about this issue.
I'm not
And
misrepresenting.
like I said, if you would like me to prove what he told me in the hallway relating to electrical inspection of the box, I'm more than happy to do
I
that.
am aware that installation was done without the permit being pulled. And I'm aware of hundreds of electrical installations that happen in this county every year. And I'm also aware that our building department has to go back and do whatever investigation that they can to try to approve that installation, the same as they did at this installation.
Yeah, and I don't think there was really an electrical inspection done at this because there was no permit.
That's not.
We can go on all day.
We could go on and on.
Bonnie and Claire are like, they probably don't
I have seen the paperwork that attests to.
And I've seen the paperwork, and I've seen the paperwork as well, because as you know, I'm pretty good at getting the paperwork. And I also had the discussion in the hallway with Mr. Crace about what actually happened. But again, Mr. Painter, I think you're missing the whole point of common sense safety, okay? And you're missing the whole point of, this is the whole point, okay? We're sitting here arguing about electrical inspections, and I would say it is insane that this device is not UL listed at any point in its lifetime.
And again, you've made that statement again, and I will attest. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
I will attest that the installation is in accordance with the building code. Thank you.